What's up, everybody? So this is lesson number 8, writing systems of equations from real world situations. Basically, it's just reading and writing. So we're just gonna go over through every step, and thank you all for watching. All right, first thing you need to do is make sure you read and annotate the problem and identify the following things. So when you're reading, and there's two rates right here, you're gonna use standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. So where a is a rate, I'm gonna put R for rate, B is another rate, and C is the total. So if the problem sounds like it has two rates, then, and especially if it mentions the total, then you're gonna use this one. Now the other equation is if it only has one rate or a slope or rate of change, basically you're gonna use slope-intercept form, which is mx plus b. So this is the rate, and this is your initial value, initial amount, starting amount, or your y-intercept, however you want to call it. Now, words to look out that represent rate of change. Now, there's a bunch of them. The ones I can think off the top of my head were each, per, rate. Other words that you can look that represents initial amount means begins with, initially, and starts. All right, first problem. So as you're reading, you probably want to just go through and make sure you annotate everything. I know it's gonna be difficult through the computer, but just do your best and or just write down your paper. So you purchase a drink. That sounds good. You purchase a sandwich for $4.50. Your friend purchases a drink, 5 sandwiches for $16.50. Write the system of equations that is used to find D, the number of drinks, and S, the number of sandwiches. So first you want to identify your variables. We know the variables are going to be D for drinks, S for sandwiches. So always read the problem for the variables. Now that you know this, I could go back. So a drink and a sandwich for $4.50. So this right here sounds like a total. So that means I got to use AX plus BY equals C, and this is called standard form. Now to make sure that both my equations are going to be in this formula, I need to just go back and read again. So I know that this right here is also another total. So now I could go ahead and start writing my equation. So I'm going to go ahead and label this one X. I'm going to label this one Y. So my first sentence, it says I bought a drink. So that means one drink plus one sandwich, because a sandwich is one sandwich, is equal to $4.50 or 4.50. Another one, the second equation says I bought also another drink plus 5 sandwiches, which is equal to $16.50. Now at this point, this is my system, and now I can go ahead and solve it if I need to, but we're just asking you to write it. So this right here will be my equations. Now just be mindful that you could reverse them. So that way it says one sandwich plus one drink equals $4.50, or 5 sandwiches plus one drink equals $16.50. But as long as the coefficients or the amount or rate per each one stays the same, then you should be good. The next type of problem, I'm just gonna again highlight a 2-liter bottle of water that's equivalent to 68 ounces. That sounds important. Is losing 2.5 ounces of water per minute. Okay, so again, that's a word right there, per. A gallon of water, it's 168 ounces and is losing 16 ounces of water per minute. Write the system that represents O, the amount of ounces of water left, and based on the time elapsed. So as I go back and annotate, This 2 right here is actually a distractor number because they actually want you to pay attention to the ounces. So if this is how much it is, this is actually an initial amount. And this right here is also another initial amount. And just to, I could go ahead and write my variables. This is O for ounces left, M for minutes. Now I could go ahead and write my equation. So now that I know that I have initial amounts as opposed to totals, that means I could use slope-intercept form, which is y equals m times x plus b. Now, just to be safe, you got to remember which one's your x and which one's your y. So minutes or time is going to be my independent variable or represents my domain. So this is actually going to be my x, while the ounces left is going to be my y. So it's always important to determine which one's your x and which one's your y. Since it's minutes that are constantly changing and it determines the amount of ounces left, then minutes is your x. Now, we could go ahead and write the first equation. So I could put O is equal to negative 2.5 because I'm losing times M, which is minutes, plus 68. Now this kind of looks a little weird to me because it just says negative, but if I were to rewrite it so it makes a little bit more sense, O is equal to negative, O is equal to 68 because I started off with that minus the 2.5 ounces per minute. Now for the second equation also, my rate is negative 16 times the minutes plus 128. Now again, this looks a little off to me, so I could just rewrite it as O, the ounces left, is equal to 128 ounces, because that's what I started off with, minus 16M. So you can use either one of these equations as long as your x is in the, or your independent variables with the rate. So either answer is fine. All right, number 3, and this is actually an important problem because it's one of the most common types of problems you'll encounter. You have 42 coins. Valued at $3. So you know that you have 42 coins and with a total of $3. Some of the coins are dimes, some of the coins are quarters. Write the system of equations that correctly represents this relationship, where D represents the number of dimes, Q represents the number of quarters. Now, this one wasn't as straightforward, but basically you're saying that we have a total of 42 and for a total of $3. So that means I got to use standard form. Now, they told me that D for dimes, Q for quarters. Now, I could go ahead and start writing my problems, but the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is put my totals since I know those are for sure. So 42 coins, and then $3. Now, it's important to actually write down what the totals represent on these. So I need to put my D and Q in both. Now, this is where the first one gets a little interesting. So number of coins for dimes plus the number of quarters gives me 42 coins. So this one's actually good to go because dimes plus quarters gives me a total of 42 coins. So the first equation is good to go. Now, the second equation though, since we're talking about money here, we got to think about how much a dime is worth. Now, it's important that we say 10 cents, but we write that as 0.10 or 0.1 plus a quarter, which is 25 cents, but that is 0.25 of a dollar. So basically, these two could be used interchangeably. And those two are equations. Then after this, you will technically solve them, but I'm just asking you to write them. All right. Bob mows lawns for $20 an hour, plus a $15 service fee. John mows lawns for $10 an hour, plus a $45 service fee. Write the system of equations that best describes this relationship, where H is the amount of hours worked, M is the money made. So now that I got that, this right here, the $15 service fee sounds like a initial amount. And the service fee over here is also another initial amount. So that means that I'm going to use slope intercept. Which is y equals m times x plus b. And then go ahead and write down your variables. That's h for hours worked, m for money made. Now in this one, again, think which is going to represent your x. So first you got to work the hours in order to get the money. So that means x does the controlling, or h does the controlling. So that means h is the x, y is the m. So money made is equal to, for the first one, $20 per hour plus the $15 service fee. So the next equation, money made, is equal to $10 per hour plus a $45 service fee. So that is your two equations. And so just make sure that this is your rate. All right, go ahead and hit pause so that way you can work out these problems. Please go ahead and work out these problems, hit pause. Go ahead and hit pause and work out this problem. Go ahead and hit pause and work out this problem. All right, last problem. Go ahead and hit pause and work out this problem. All right, so this is the end of the video. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you like what you watched. Thank you for watching. You guys have a good week.